Hey guys, let's talk about the up and coming changes to League, which I think are some of the biggest in the last few years. So we'll make a team and try to understand what all these changes put together might end up creating. So we'll start with this very basic one to change plate gold reduce from 175 to 125. So from the start, this is a early snowballing nerf, because we understand that this goal can be obtained only by those who hit turret, only by those who can snowball by taking the tower. So that means target early gold from towers, or rather less gold from towers, less snowball. Moving further, we have one of the biggest changes, which I don't know, people don't seem to understand what this implies. Infernal AP and AD reduced from 5% to 3%. That's almost half, bros. That's almost half. Which means that when you get 2 Infernals, that's basically almost the same as getting 1. Almost the same, it's just 1% difference. Infernal Soul base damage increase from 80 to 100. Now this is interesting, because you can only get this buff if you get the Infernal Soul, which means you need all 4 dragons. So in effect, for the most part, early game value is almost irrelevant. Ocean region reduced from 2.5% missing HP to 2%. Obviously another nerf. Ocean Soul base heal increase from 130 to 150. Ocean Soul base mana restoring. So okay, what does this mean? It means again less stats for early drakes, less stats for effort, in individual effort by a jungler to take this, and more rewards when you get this as a team. Cloud Soul resist and the movement speed reduced from 7% to 4%. Now this is actually pretty huge. So dragons, less snowballing from dragons. Let's put this differently. Less tenacity available, because this is also very important. Obviously, Cloud Soul movement speed increased from 50% to 20%. Mountain bonus stats resist from 8% to 5%. It's similar to Infernal here. And Mountain Soul base shield increased to 100 from 180 to 220. So it's basically the same team. Getting individual dragons will mean nothing, because all these stats are even weaker. They have almost been gutted. But getting the soul will help overall to finish the game. But getting soul provides a huge buff. Okay, is this it? Text and slow increase. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. Someone complaining about top lane. Yeah. You're never mind. He understands. It's actually a buff for top laners. Anyway, moving forward, we'll close this. This is the one that got everyone's attention. So, jungle changes. Oh boy. Smite can no longer be cast on minions and pets. So, what do I have to say about this? Can't we just make Smite not available on minions when there is a laner nearby? Come on. I understand Freak's cannon minion got stolen in a rank game, but seriously, sometimes you cannot get the cannon because you have no available damage on your champion. You cannot combo the cannon So you kind of have to smite it. And it's also not free to smite a cannon. It's just costing you tempo on your next clear. So sure, it's not that bad for minions. You could basically do this by implement this change by just not being allowed to smite when someone's around. But on pets, that's a big one. So what I think is that they should be nerfing straight up Ivan and Annie for doing this. Sure, you no longer can smite it, but why do we have to suffer overall for Ivan, already a strong champion, being further annoying without any counterplay to his ultimate? This change overall is not that bad. Think of this as irrelevant if you don't have Annie or Ivan in the game. It will never happen. Champions smite damage change from 2100 to 40 flat. In my opinion, usually you wouldn't need smite to kill someone. However, there are situations where I did finish someone with smite, so I don't know what to say. It's a nerf, but again, it's not the end of the world. Overall, you don't use smite that often on champions, and when you do, you use it early game anyway. So it is what it is. It's gonna be a bad change for us junglers, but it's not the end of the world. AoE damage increased from 50% to 100%. So this one was quite misleading. I didn't understand. Wait, what are they doing with this? Like, are they actually buffing damage when clearing? They couldn't be doing this, because if that was the case, then all these changes would have been nothing, because all it does is buffing jungle clear and giving more levels. Like, imagine Karthus with this change, Evelyn with this change, Udyr with this change. It would be ridiculous. But what I ended up finding is this change is for when you have Primal Smite. What is Primal Smite? That's the final form of smite. When you deal damage with smite, it also deals a bit of AoE damage. So what happens is, in late game, if you wanna smite raptors or golems, it will also smite the smaller minions around it. You can also use it for wolves, but other than that, it also has no real meaning. So it's a buff for a point in the game where you don't get to farm anyway, or your jungle gets stolen by either your team or the enemy team. So who cares about it? It does nothing. No longer grants epic monster damage reduction. This will be interesting. I don't think it matters that much for the later parts of the game, but I want to know if this prevents junglers from doing early objectives. This we'll have to see it in game. I don't know how much HP you lose from this change, but it might discourage junglers from not doing objectives overall altogether early game, especially now that the dragons give even less stats. But what this might have in effect is that junglers who understand their champions, who understand their spikes, who understand that they can do them, and they understand soul is a valid win condition still, might just end up doing them even more uncontested. Because of course people will have the mentality, you don't need dragons, you don't need that, let's just focus on our game. So it might be a buff for junglers. We shall see. Moonstomper no longer grants tenacity and slow resist. And you might wonder, wait, so what do I do with this thingy? Why do I get green smite now? Why should I get the green smite? Well, the answer is, sirs, you don't. Probably, most likely, everyone will be using blue smite. I think there's no reason. Even if Blue Smite is gonna get its movement speed reduced, just for the shield, getting Green Smite just for the shield does almost nothing. So I don't see the point of getting it anymore. Also, less tenacity available. Dragons and jungle item changed. Adding this to the team. So what do I have to say about this overall? This is not as bad. Everyone's crying, everyone's saying this is the end of the world. I don't see it objectively. I don't see how it affects the game. This smite can no longer, this does nothing in most games. You're not gonna have Ivan or any in your games. This, you barely smite a champion throughout the game. Maybe you do it twice. Usually you do it once. This does nothing. It probably helps you late game by not losing too much tempo, by getting a camp and then grouping for the team. This is the interesting change. I think this is this is the most interesting change. And why don't I think this one is big? Because I don't care about points in the game where the game has been already decided. As in, yeah, sure, you no longer have tenacity, but when's that? Well, when you already have the item, so... Okay, it's minute 16, I have my item now I have tenacity. Great. Too bad we already lost though. Oh, too bad we already won though. There will be way too... there won't be way too many situations where this will have an actual effect. And this tenacity and slow resist was already very irrelevant. But the question is if they are going to nerf Mercury threads. Because if they are going to nerf Mercury threads, then that would be unacceptable. For me, the biggest nerf they could actually apply to jungle, if I wanted to nerf jungle as a game designer, if I really wanted to destroy jungle, I would straight up nerf Mercury threads. This does nothing. Anyway, let's move forward. In the end, my conclusion is this is not as big as people make it out to be. Now what? This is the big one. Starting item changes. Only one Doran item can be purchased now. Doran's Blade HP increased from 82 to 100. Doran's Blade AD increased from 8 to 10. This is also a very friendly change, because it allows people to last it further, more efficiently. Doran's ring HP increased from 70 to 90. Doran's ring AP increased from 15 to 18. So all it does is allow people to last it more, have more HP. Doran shield HP increased from 80 to 100. HP regen increased from 40 to 45. And Dark Seal HP increased from 40 to 50. I'm not sure. I still think you can buy the Dark Seal with starting items. I think there was Crucial here. If this makes Dark Seal, I don't think they're gonna make Dark Seal a starting item. It specifically says only one Doran item can be purchased now. It doesn't say only one starting item can be purchased now. So, this is the big change. What this effectively is durability patch 2.0. People can last it more. People can have more HP regen now. People are healthier. And by the way, this also works on support. Support is getting an HP buff on their starting items, as we'll see further. So what this effectively does, or what they are trying to do, is they are trying to prevent junglers from killing laners. This is how I see it. I don't understand why they would do this without taking into account the other changes they are making to jungle overall. I think all these changes are to make laners feel safe and die less early. Now, this is all nice. This is great stuff. In theory, it's nice. And to an extent, I agree with the spirit of it. But what are we doing with the champions that are already overtuned and have infinite scaling mechanics? Who wants a Senna in their game farming them 24/7? Who wants Nasus not being able to be killed and leaving a wither and making you basically be perma-stunned? Who wants Veigar now that he has been buffed with his cage, perma-stunning the entire team and being able to farm and one-shotting you anyway? Who wants all these champions? Cyan with a Doran shield, having the ability never to die and just absorb all pressure, farming under 2 waves. Now all these changes do is create already broken champs which could get away very easily if your teammates didn't pick proper champions or didn't know how to lane early, become a problem for everyone else. Like, let's say I'm playing my, I don't know, Nautilus. I'm playing Nautilus. I'm a teammate. My Ashe asked me to play Nautilus, so I'm now playing Nautilus. I kill the enemy Senna 2 times on lane. I kill her 3 times on lane. But unfortunately, we only got 2 dragons because my jungler was getting invaded. We didn't have prio on mid laner, so we had to give levels. Now, because we only took 2 dragons, enemy team took 1 dragon, and now the enemy Nasus is just in a point in the game where I, as Nautilus, who was killing my opponent, was helping my team, will just lose by default because Nasus cannot be killed anymore. These are the type of interactions changes like this create. And I don't know if many people understand how bad this will be for the game. As I said, there are already broken hyperscaling champions that take over the game and punish other players who are playing well because they are not allowed to beat them. Like, again, why should the Nautilus suffer for the enemy Nasus that didn't do anything special, was simply FK in tower? He's 0-0-0 by minute 17, but he's now unkillable and he beats everyone. Like, what the hell is this? This is the actual big change that might end up creating further chaos in League of Legends. So, less snowballing because laners are safe early, and now hyperscaling takes over the game. I don't know, this is the worst change I've seen in a while, because it comes without nerfing all those broken champions. I would be okay with this, but nerf all those late game champions. Nerf Kyle, nerf Nasus, nerf Vladimir, nerf Orianna, nerf Victor, nerf all those champions late game. And I know what they're trying to do by nerfing systems, but they also have to nerf individual champions as well. Lord Dominic's regard nerf. This is again interesting. Bonus damage reduced from 0.25% to 0.22%. So what this does is, again, lets tanks from top lane be even stronger. Hey, guess what? Now your main source of late game damage, your AD carry, is now getting nerfed. Okay, reward further the Nasus being 0-10. Reward further the Inting Cyan by being 0-10 and still being able to beat you. Do you guys enjoy the 0-20 Lawi beating everyone just by pressing R? Is this smart game design? No. Support item changes. This is what we talked about earlier. All supports are getting some HP. People looked at this as an individual change. Everyone thought, oh my god, support is getting buffed. No, it's about every champion getting buffed so they don't die as much early. Also, this is a really long wall of text, so let's try to make sense of it. Basically, what they are doing is nerfing runes for the scaling part. They're nerfing the scaling part, but they are applying some damage, base damage to it. Let's read comment. Comment changed from 13 to 100 plus 45% base AD plus 20% AP to 40 to 100 plus 10% base AD plus 5% base AP. What does this change mean? It means that early game you are going to lose 50%, 50 damage for each 100 AP. You are going to lose 50 damage for each 100 AP, but you are going to gain 40 base damage. So when is this a buff? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is a buff for when you get Brabadon. So, ironically, this rewards scaling even further. That's crazy. Late game damage champions, late game champions who have now been ensured to farm safer because they are getting all those nice neat changes that they don't have to die early. Now your Orianna can 1v9 even further. Crazy. This whole team is the same for every single rune. Dark Harvest, same thingy. From 25% base AD plus 50% AP to 10% base AD and plus 5% AP. All these changes are around base AD and base AP. So they just get a somewhat early to mid game buff, and they also get a late game scaling. So they are just buffing the systems overall. What they are trying to do again is prevent people from dying early but ending up around mid-late game with the same amount of damage into the game. So again, what does this do? It prevents early game champions from existing even further and creates late game snowballing even stronger. So again, why not play safe champions now? What's the point if winning your lane? Even if you kill your Orianna 10 times, she'll just come and one-shot everyone. This is the same for first strike. Oh, never mind, wait a second. First strike bonus damage reduced from 9% to 8%. Okay, this is a straight up nerf. And read this. This is interesting. Fleet footwork heal reduced from Fleet footwork heal reduced change from 10-100 base AD plus 20% AP to 10-125. Okay, so again, it's the same as the rest. Giving some base damage, but reducing scaling. Rest attack damage increased. Wait, that's first strike nerf? Wait, they are nerfing first strike. Interesting. They're nerfing first strike, but they're not giving it anything. It's the only rune that doesn't benefit anything from it. Anyway, press the attack damage increase from 40 to 100 to 220. Press attack damage amplify. Oh, this is a big one. This is a big one. 4% damage from press the attack for your teammates. Reduced in late game. This is a big one. Oh well, more Conqueror buffs, I guess. This is actually a Conqueror buff, indirectly. I don't know what to say about it. I'll have to see it in game. These are the type of changes I need to see in game. How they affect HP bars. But overall, I don't think this is that good for Ezreal type champions, or even Trundle, who's trying to get press the attack to help his teammates. I don't know. Every base damage change from 10 to 40 to 30 plus 50%, 15% base AD, 10% AP to 10 to 50. Wait. They're just giving them damage to Aerie? And they're reducing its scaling by 5. So overall it's kind of a 5 damage buff early. It's kind of it's kind of a niche buff towards enchanters. Aries shield change from 40 to 75. I'll just read the AP because most people get Aerie for AP champions. Plus 25, 22.5 AP to 40, 100. So they are keeping the shield the same early. Plus 5% AP. Wait, they are nerfing the shield this hard? Okay, this is at least justified. So they're buffing damage, but they're nerfing the shield scaling. The nerf to HP scaling to the shield is quite big. Taste of Blood heal change from 60 to 30. Okay, let's see what they do with this. They are buffing with 10 base damage while 10 base HP while removing 5% scaling for both AD and 3% for 5% for AD and 3% for AP. So overall, I have to see these changes in game, but I just think it rewards scaling. That's all I can say about it. Water walking movement speed reduced from 25 to 10. Oh boy, guess who gets water walking? Can you guess what class of champions gets water walking? Less snowballing for junglers that use water walking. Heka. I mentioned him because he's an obvious contender. Eve might be one of them. Heka Eve. Blue smite affects them too. Moving forward, what do we have here? For this, was this it? I think this was all there was to it. Let's check again. Individual changes on champions that nobody cares about. Santa York, great. Milio, who cares? Queen, what the hell is Queen, bro? Who cares? So these are the changes. I think they are very important. As we can see, all this does is nerfing jungle. This is exactly what people wanted. People wanted to nerf jungle, but I think it might end up having a negative effect on their desires. Because even if they nerf jungle, people need to understand there's a jungle in both teams. There's a jungle in their teams, and there's a jungle in the enemy team. And making one of them useless and making that person be the fall guy for everything in the game will not solve their issues for picking bad champions. Because in the end, for me, frustration comes when I'm laning, because I am not able to kill the opponent or win my lane without someone else. The amount of things I contribute to the team is not enough for me to win the lane alone. So then the natural instinct is to blame the guy who's in a roaming position. But he's not in a roaming position. He's in an AFK farming position, because if he tries to gank with the level he's at in the current moment of the game, it usually comes with the cost of him not being able to keep up with the enemy jungler. Then he becomes even weaker, and if he doesn't get a kill from the gank, he's definitely a cannon minion for the rest of the game. So, knowing that, what do I have to say about junglers? Junglers should focus entirely on clearing camps and getting levels in any way, sort of form. That's how I see the game now. But I am curious, what can junglers do next patch with monstrosities such as Nasus? I'm honestly baffled by the fact that Nasus isn't getting nerfed. How are they not nerfing Nasus? He's the one that benefits the most from all these changes. How are they not nerfing Kyle? How are they not nerfing Orianna? How are they not nerfing these champions? Is it because they're not an issue in pro play? I don't know. Orianna will be an issue in pro play if she's not already one I haven't seen pro play in a while. This will not have the desired effects, bros. You will see so many scaling champions, and if God forbid if you want to play Jace, God forbid if you want to play Zed, your champions will do nothing. We'll see what happens. This is a turning point for League. In my perspective, League of Legends had three iterations, three versions. I don't know how to put it. It was in three versions. It was the early game of it, where the game was so complicated and so hard. I mean, the first 3 seasons, maybe 4, I'd say first 3 in particular, where you had lane swaps. You didn't have access to trinkets. It was really hard to play the game back then, even if people were a lot worse at it. Even still, it was very hard to get vision. You needed clairvoyance on support. It was totally different. That was one version of the game. Then I'd say seasons 4 to 6 maybe, it was the second version of it, where champions were quite similar to how the game is nowadays, actually. They were quite tanky, there was scaling, but there wasn't as much one-shot. I'd say it was very similar to season 11. The game was very similar to that back then. And there was the third version of it. I used to call it the one-shot, come-shot video game, where everyone is playing TikTok style, everyone is killing everything on the map. We have to move fast, we have to move, we have to do everything, we cannot stop, we can't stop, we have to move. A very accelerated, fast-paced game. This was the third version of it. Now we're slowing it down. Now we're slowing it down to a scaling meta. I think this will be the fourth iteration of the game, the fourth version of League of Legends, and we'll see what will happen. We'll see what it does. Overall, it might not be that bad. I think it might not be that bad. It might not be that bad if it reduces frustration from players. But I repeat, it will create frustration because people cannot deal with champions that scare. They have no tools. So unless you nerf Nasus, unless you nerf Malphite, unless you nerf Ornn, unless you nerf all these champions that get to be unkillable and get to beat everyone by building tank, then you will have other types of frustration, and that will lead to further players quitting the game. It's not okay for players not to win if they win early. It's not okay. But yeah, we'll see. See ya.